My name is Annemarie van Blijenburg. I have been married for 24 years met Kees van Korlaar. Kees van Korlaar, together with his 3 brothers, form a criminal organization known as the Octave Syndicate. They work from 1960 on till the day of today. In order of Queen Beatrix, they have organized martel, torture, rape and killing of children in a public setting. They organized that through youth detention centers in the Netherlands. The youth detention centers were told that the criminals were asking for the Dutch court for children who could work with the Dutch Queen for a certain period. The detention centers were very happy. They thought that Queen Beatrix was a very social woman, and they gladly volunteered in giving files of certain children to the criminals. When they wanted to verify what the criminals told them, they were given a name and a phone number of a high-ranking officer at the court of Queen Beatrix, and that high-ranking officer would state and tell them that indeed those criminals were seeking children to work for a certain period at the Dutch court. After receiving files of approximately 3 children every time, the criminals selected a child that had no relative or family. They told the youth detention center, child A is the one we want to see. The youth detention center bought clothes with the child so that it was well clothed to go to a solicitation conversation and put the child on train to Zwolle. In Zwolle, the criminals fetched the child from the station, brought it to a building which was equipped as a hotel but was not working as a hotel, although there were people in the lobby doing as if the hotel was in work. The child was put on a table and were giving something to drink, and in that drink, with the drink, the child was drugged. Besides that hotel was a building where the performance should take place. In that building, the people were sat down, and at a certain moment, the child was brought into that building by the criminals, was tortured, raped, and brutally murdered before those people. The audience was around Johan Friso, Prince Johan Friso, the second son of Queen Beatrix. I was told that Johan Friso was quite insane and had an unhealthy interest in young children, and had a steady psychiatrist every day of his life with him. And the psychiatrist's name was 𝗧𝗿𝗆𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. The criminals organized those killings in accordance with Beatrix. Beatrix paid for it, paid for the killings, and Johan Friso, the criminals asked Johan Friso to bring his relatives or friends with him. And so the whole building was filled with very important people from the Netherlands, ministers, high-ranking officers, and all kinds of people that the criminals could put on photo, so they could blackmail those people and get criminal advantages from that. The people that I recognized there were, for instance, Prince Johann Friso, his steady psychiatrist 𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗲𝗍𝗏. I recognized Mabel Wisse-Smith. She was there with an old steady man. I think it was George Soros. I recognized Dona, former minister of the Law Department, at this moment Viceroy of the Netherlands. I recognized 𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗲𝗍𝗏, a very important former Minister of Justice. I recognized 𝗖𝘆𝗰𝗶𝗶𝗏𝗏. He was for years the head of all judges in the Netherlands. I recognized Dick Berlijn, the former head of the military department in the Netherlands. I recognized a journalist, a very important journalist, 𝗘𝗆𝗆𝗱𝗏𝗍𝗍 of the journal the 𝗘𝗆𝗆𝗍𝗶𝗏. I recognized Carla Herades. At present, he is president of the court in Amsterdam, a judge. I recognized Mark Rutte. He is at this moment president of the Netherlands. I recognize 𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗏𝗱𝗏. He is at this moment the head of the political party PVV in the Dutch parliament. There were about 50 people every time I was taken there. I have been taken there 3 times. I have seen every time a child was killed, and I have seen 2 boys killed. I have seen 1 girl killed. I presume those children were Netherlands children. I presume those children came from the detention centers of the Netherlands on the way and were recruited on the way that I've told. I've asked the journalists about in 2005, the year 2005 or 2006, I asked a journalist of the journal De Telegraaf to look it out for me and to publish it in the newspaper, what was happening. The journalist told me that he had controlled my story with all the youth detention centers in the Netherlands and had spoken to people who had indeed given those files to the criminals and thought that the children they put on the train were going to a solicitation conversation and were going to work in the court of Queen Beatrix. And that some of those people of the detention center told the journalist that they thought that Queen Beatrix was eating those children up because they were putting them on the train to Zwolle and they never saw them back or heard anything about them anymore. They were first thrown in a container behind the building where they were murdered, a cooling container. After certain performances, the container was brought to Belgium, where they had a piece of land where they put the children in a hole. From 2004 on till now today, I have spoken with every policeman I could find. spoken with every law official I could find. I've talked to Interpol about this. I've been to court to try to get a conviction of the prosecutor to investigate the matter. The court told me that it wasn't my problem, it was a problem of the society, and the court didn't want to give an order to the prosecutor to investigate. I have done literally everything to clear this up. I haven't. No, I have the idea that everything is stopped because Beatrix is involved and the Dutch court is involved. And every time some policeman wants to investigate, they slap him on the shoulders and say, don't do that because Queen Beatrix doesn't want it. I'm very, very angry. If you've seen what I've seen, it always stays with you. I can put it aside because it is one of the gruel things that I've seen, but it's horrible. It's really horrible. It is idiots. One time when I was driven back to my home, so my husband took me there. My husband drugged me, and my husband let me see that, and my husband brought me back to the home. And my home was about 100 kilometers far. And during that ride, I suddenly came to my senses. I suddenly discovered that was a child that I had seen killed. I burst out in tears. My husband was driving. He put his arm to me and he said, don't bother. They're children of a minor order. It's just trash. It doesn't matter that they are killed. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's I can't describe it. It's horrible. It's idiot. Those people who was looking there and not doing anything. Those people are idiots. It's idiot. If you just think how many people since 2004, since I tried to stop it, have been killed. It's 10 years. They kill approximately perhaps 10 or 20 people a year, if not more. It's horrible. I have shown the police. I have let them see 4 places in the Netherlands they used as graveyards for people. They liquidated them. Never any policeman has taken the trouble to look. The criminals know that I've told the police. They've had every opportunity to let the bodies disappear again. I know two places where it is difficult for now to let them disappear. One is a pool, but I've seen that they did something there. I don't know what, but it must have been difficult to let the bodies disappear from that pool. But never. Normally in the Netherlands, when you find something in a house, a corpse or blood, the police goes with 20, 30 people to investigate it. And when I say to the people, I know 4 places in the Netherlands they use as a graveyard, and every graveyard, perhaps 20 till 50, perhaps 100 bodies are buried there, and nobody is looking. Nobody is looking at those places. Today is the 5th of June 2014, and my name is Annemarie van Blijenburg.
My name? is Soros from the family Danaos. And I live in Holland. I'm 54 years old. I have 5 children, and I've a very bad story. My mother trained me, and it was a training for the Freemasons, it's an examination, a kind of examination, if they will come through or not, if they are really pedophile or...
so it's initiation, you mean? Okay.
And that was at about 5-6 kilometers from our home. There was a small castle in the wood, in the forest, and they brought me there when I was 6 years old, and there the house doctor, he was the one who took me there, and it was there was a tower, and in the tower it was a round tower. There was a kind of bed, I was bound on it naked. And the doctor, he was there. There were men or persons in white clothes or white blankets. They had covered, that covered their naked body, and with caps like this, and only a hole here. But only the doctor, he was like a bok. But for me it was a bok, but probably also a devil, I don't know, but I always say he was the bok. And he was not in white, he was in brown, he was not white. And they went in a circle around me, walking.
It's because the tower's round, so around the wall, in a procession.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then he put an
𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗲𝗁𝗍.
That thing you put into when you go to the gynecologist, a cold metal duck looking thing. Yeah.
How do you call it?
We call it a duck.
A duck. He put a duck in my vagina, and then he stimulated the clitoris. So there I got an orgasm. And the one who couldn't have, or who didn't get an erection, fell down there was somewhere there was one hole in the circle, and then that hole went open and he fell out through it. And during that falling, how it was exactly done, I don't know, but the man got out of his hole.
Okay, so because he didn't get an erection, looking at you having this done to you, they cut off his penis and threw him down a hole. Okay, what happened to him?
Sorry, how exactly did that happen? How did they cut it off, and who cut it off?
I don't know exactly how it was done.
With a rope.
Yeah, they had a rope.
Something.
There was a rope on there, but how exactly? There was a certain system that if they didn't get an erection,
And the fall.
by the fall, it was
pulled off.
Yeah.
Pulled off,
Okay. Yeah. It is. But to me, it sounds terrible. It was terrible, but to me it wasn't not that terrible, because I had such terrible things already before, because my parents did. There was no one, only the doctor who was kind to me, because I had to work with him together to cooperate. and it sounds, how can you, but if I didn't cooperate, and when the circle was going on, when the men were moving, the book and me, we had eye contact and we knew who was going. We really, after I've done that work for 4 years, during 4 years, till my 10th birthday, or till I was 10. And it is.
So, are there a lot of these castles here in Holland where this goes on?
I'm not in it anymore, so I cannot say it. I don't know.
Do you remember where they are?
I think they are still in that system, or there are still those systems to test the upper class of the Freemasons.
I mean the castle where you were abused. Do you know where it is?
Yes, I know it. I have exactly. I know it where it is, and I know that did happen much more.
Okay.
There are.
Did you ever go outside of Holland to different places? Were you taken anywhere?
Yes, I know all the places, or a lot of places where I was taken, and not only in Holland. But I will. This story is not finished.
Okay, keep going.
For me, that was the story with the house doctor, because he told me I was a kind girl and he loved me, so that was his way to make me cooperate or to work with him. And because I didn't have anyone who I could rely on and who was there for me, and he gave me the pills for not feeling so much pain. It was, and that night we slept together and he put the arm around me.
Okay.
So we worked together, and when that man was falling down in a kind of cellar, afterwards he was dead. And then the whole group of men went down the stairs. Not me, but later the doctor, he showed me the whole system, how it functioned. It was as if you were
companions, lovers. How old were you?
It was from my sixth till my 10th year.
So you were his child lover?
Yeah.
Okay. And you thought he was your boyfriend?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very strange.
Mm-hmm. No.
But there's still a feeling for him, and it's...
Is he still alive?
No, he died in a very bad, strange. But that comes because it's. I have always the idea that it's because of the whole story what comes afterwards.
Interesting. Okay. All right, carry on.
So they went downstairs, and they are the men. They had to do necrophilia with that dead body.
This is the one who got his.
Mm-hmm.
So the other men had to do that with him.
What did they do exactly?
To penetrate him.
Anally?
I'm sorry.
Like, from behind, yeah. It's okay, relax. Right.
Did you watch it happen, or did the doctor tell you?
It's strange, but I've seen it.
Okay.
When they, I just have one other question about that. When they were doing that, were they saying anything while they were doing it, or were they just doing it?
Saying, I don't know. I cannot say it. For me, it was silent. It was
Okay.
not with.
Was there ever in these rituals any kind of chanting or verse read, or was it just a pure act?
Pure act.
Okay. All right.
And then the one who didn't come through that act, or could not penetrate, had to come to me again, because then I was upstairs, or they put a cross knife in my, the doctor did it, the bok, or the devil, in my vagina.
So was it pointing down, out? Not inside, it was pointing out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, it was in.
Yeah, it was inside. The knife was.
The knife was also, but it was a special
asking
thing.
the
It was not
direction.
for me painful, it was for the...
Okay. What I'm trying to ask is the direction. Did the handle go in first or the blade?
No, the blade was out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a handle, it was a tool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not to give me pain, it was to make the penis from me.
Okay. Just so we can clarify. So the man who didn't want to penetrate necrophilia had to then come to you.
Yeah.
You had a blade inside of you. And what happened?
He had to penetrate me again, and that gave that his penis was splitting up.
Did he know what he was doing? Did they tell? Okay. Oh goodness. That's terrible. So you're in this relationship with the doctor. Let's talk a bit more.
Because those examinations from the Freemasons, that was not very often, but it was once a year, or I don't know, it didn't take place every week. Couldn't. But the doctor, well, my father, he showed me more often to the doctor, and he took me to different places in Holland. He brought me to nearby Almelo. There was also a torturing center. It was a house, and there were different. It was a corridor, and then there were different rooms in it, and there I was also tortured with electricity. It was very often electricity what they put on me, and not only on my feet or my fingers, but also on my clitoris. That was very often, or in the vagina. Or sometimes they hit me with a wooden on the feet. And afterwards, and they were men in black. They were masked. They wore a mask. Not always, but also a black suit, not a cape or sometimes a cape. It was, and then there were 2 or 3 men normally. But it was always the doctor. He was with them. But I didn't know it. I didn't know that he was one of the torturers at that time. When the torturing and the raping was over, they brought me to another room, and there was the doctor who gave me some morphine or other things to relieve the pain. And that did happen in different places. Also in the south of Holland, in Limburg. There was in 𝗖𝘆𝗰𝗶𝗁 a small castle where they brought me, and there were more men together, and they put me naked on a table to play with me, and afterwards they brought me to a torturing room where I was also tortured, and there were also.
Were the other children involved?
No, I would like this. It was not only the torturing, and it was not only man who raped me, but also in 𝗖𝗆 it was also a dog
Oh.
who raped me.
Sorry?
A dog.
Dog.
And on the castle where the Freemasons examination was, they were also, it was in the forest, they had some hunting. They hunted, I would like to say us. There were more, me and also my sister, and there were more. But it was at night, it was dark.
What did they do exactly on the hunting?
What I remember, I was naked and it was cold, and there was on my feet, I put my feet in a clam so I couldn't go on any longer.
I'm sorry, on a what?
And
Like a bear trap, a clamp.
Like you had a trap around you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And it was hunting with dogs, not with a gun, but it was, and they were on horses. It was with Prince Bernhard.
I'm sorry.
Prince Bernhard, the former
And
king of...
Cardinal Alfring.
Cardinal.
Alfring.
How do you spell that?
A-L.
A-L?
F.
F.
R-I-N-K.
R-I-N-K.
He was a Catholic cardinal?
Yes. Yeah.
And the Prince Bernhard.
Yeah, Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, the man who set up Bilderberg. And the World Wildlife Federation.
How old were you when this happened? The hunting?
Exorcisms.
At about 9, 10 years old, 7. During that whole period it happened. And it was not only in that forest. But they put the dogs to hunt us. And then when you could not go on, and there was that clam around my feet, the dogs, they raped us, and they were laughing and putting jokes on me.
How many men did this?
What I know or what I see is 2 men, but probably there were more, I don't know.
Were there other children involved? Were you the only child, or was the others with you?
I know that I heard crying or screaming, and it was my sister, and she didn't take part afterwards on those hunting parties. But with me, they took me to England, Wales, Scotland.
Who took you?
The doctor.
I'm sorry, hunting parties in Wales? And
In Carnarvon Castle, and in nearby Fort Williams in Scotland.
Did you see the Cardinal or the Prince in Scotland and Wales too? Or were there other people?
In Scotland there was Menachem Mendel Sneerson, the upper rabbi of the Jewish people.
Could you spell that?
Menachem
Yeah.
Mendel
Mendel
Sneerson.
Sneerson. Just write down for us, if you don't mind.
Okay, we can look, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen, for taking the notes. Okay. Carry on.
And in Carnarvon they hunted in the castle, in the in the corridors or in the gangen, hoe noem je dat?
Corridors.
Ja.
Always.
Really?
Oh.
In the castle? That's interesting.
And nearby Fort Williams, that was terrible. That was horrible. It was not only hunting, there was a special water basin in a huge building.
Oh, sorry, what was it again?
A water basin.
Oh, water basin. Okay.
Yeah. And there was a kind of apparaat boven.
An appliance.
Yeah. And they bound me there, naked. My arms like this and my feet like this, and there was an iron
Bar.
an iron bar. And first they put me right up, and then let me slowly down in the water and put electricity on the water. So, and I couldn't. And then they put electricity on and on. And afterwards, they took me up and then turned me up. They put me with my head on the water. They like to see you struggle. But that was not everything. Then they put my whole body, they took me and put me in the water basin till here, and then they turned on the electricity till I couldn't breathe anymore. I was dead. They took me out and I lay on the ground as if I was dead. That was with my doctor, with Sneerson and Lord Mountbatten.
Lord Mountbatten. Okay. The Queen's husband, the Queen of England's husband is a Mountbatten.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Prince Philip.
When I was at about 10 years old, well, although in Scotland there was also hunting, and there was hunting with more children. They
What happened to the children? Were they ever caught and killed?
They were killed, and also on the Strengenberg, where I first had where I was talking about hunting. The children who are killed sometimes what they do the same with when they hunt on rabbits or animals, they eat them. They do the thing.
Did you ever see them kill the children and eat them? You actually see it?
I have to.
Tell us a bit
or
more.
they gave it to the dogs, or both.
Why were you never caught and killed?
I don't know. I had no protector, I think, my lover. I was not. Most of the times I was apart. They hunted me, but only with the dogs,
Okay.
not with.
Did they use guns when they were hunting the other children, or any weapon?
I cannot give an answer. I only know that there were children who we had to eat, or who were.
They were dead children. You saw they were dead. And
It was only part of the child what you saw. I didn't see them, the whole part. I knew that it was from a child.
Okay.
So you were forced to eat child meat. How old were you?
It was all at the same time at the
Yeah.
9, 10, 11. You can't imagine.
This was in Fort William, in Scotland,
There was also hunting,
in Fort William.
or nearby Fort William. There was torturing, there was electricity, there was the hunting.
I was born in Belgium, and I now live in the United States, but I was born in Belgium. And from a very young age, I was abused at a very young age, and my mother was very mentally unwell. And I believe that we were targeted, but from the age of just around my 6th birthday, I was trafficked into what I can only call a network, which at the time involved, I didn't know who anybody was, but they turned out to be prominent politicians in Belgium, nobility, businessmen, and the elites of Belgium. It seemed that the nobility offered their castles as places where to hold the orgies. And the then Minister of National Defense was in charge for, as far as I could tell. And he was mostly using me for blackmail purposes. It's a terrorist organization, really, in the first years from 6 to 9. And we're talking, I'm from 63, so we're talking 69 to 1972. I was mostly used for blackmail purposes. That's to say, I had to. So there would be an orgy or it'd be a party, and often it was in a castle. And then I would be waiting in a separate room, and some handler would be there with me, waiting, or with maybe some other children as well. And then when the people had left who were not supposed to be aware of this, or who were not ready, whatever they were considered, that a certain later hour, then we were brought in. And I was often introduced to somebody who was supposedly new, and then I had to make them feel comfortable, and then take them to a room, and then they were secretly filmed, and then that was used against them. Yeah, he was a Minister of National Defense. He became Prime Minister twice afterwards. Yeah. And that's the special club. So the Minister of National Defense, first there's the corruption and the greed, and then beyond that, there's, the people who didn't say no when they were confronted with a 6-year-old child. They were already triaged by the minister just to make sure that they were not going to say no, because I never had anybody saying no, and I was always stunned. that they were going to not say, my goodness, this is a little girl, this is a child, I'm not doing this. So they were clearly pedophiles. And in the system, you know, to be a pedophile, you have to be very cut off, right? You can't, you know, nobody healthy would think that a child would be used for sex. That is completely crazy. That is really sick. So there it begins. That requires you to be completely sick. And then that sickness, those, you know, in my experience, those who needed the power, you know, they were pulled into this system, which then becomes completely psychopathic at the top levels. My mother actually had a contact person who didn't live so far. She was a countess. She was a part of Opus Dei in a group, a religious group, and so the certain tier of Opus Dei was then involved in this network. So was, you know, when we're talking about the minister, he was a Freemason, and then a certain tier of the Freemasons were also involved in this network. And I think a lot of the people that were being brought in came through the Masons or some club, some secret society that already was secret and where there already were a lot of promises made never to speak and everything. So that by the time, you know, they were triaged, and how much do you want it is the question, right? How much do you want the power? And whatever it is that when you lack the self-esteem, but you want the power, it's not just ambition, you know, because ambition is connected to the self and aligned with everything you are and what you want from life. But there it is sheer ambition because you're lacking the self-esteem because of previous trauma. So you're running away from your own trauma, from your own shadows by climbing the ladder. And this is what was offered. You know, the more you want it, that's to say, the sicker you are, the more you don't have a sense of self, the more you're not connected to yourself. You know, it begins with pedophilia, but that's already really extreme. It's extremely common. So it's also really extreme in nature, like to think that, you know, to see a child as a sex object is crazy. All these men treated me as if I was a 6-year-old prostitute. And I knew that I wasn't. She was paid. I found that out.
Oh my God.
Yes. So it wasn't, she was driving me to the places, dropping me off, picking me up at dawn, and she got paid for it, which I found out late, you know, accidentally, but I did, from within the network. At age 9, so now 1972, there was the Bilderberg meeting in Belgium, and that was great for the people in the network, or I call it a club at the time, you know, as a club with levels. So the children were sort of the ultimate level and were mostly used for blackmail. But then there were powerful people with very sadistic desires that were then also taken care of, you know, and it linked to the royalty as well. So when I was 9, and there was a ritual that was set up to please one of the people that was coming to Belgium for the Bilderberg meeting. And so for this American billionaire, they staged a satanic ritual. And that had the elements of Satanism, with everybody wearing black robes and, you know, and hoods. And it took place in below a cathedral, in the basement of a cathedral. It seemed that was sort of the reverse of what was happening upstairs. And so there wasn't a very old altar, a black altar, and there was a pentagram, and there were all the elements were there. And 2 children were given to this billionaire, and there was a little boy with me that I was 9 and he was 7, and he was a little bit slow. He was a little bit mentally handicapped, and so I'm sorry, I felt very protective of him, and he was killed. There were 2 children. One was to be sacrificed, and the other one was to be raped by that billionaire, by the special guest. And so I was raped, but I was also forced to watch. Because he was special, that maybe it was so pitiful, because he was crying so hard. So there was nothing to dampen, or to minimize what was happening in front of me. And it's just, a lot of very horrible things happened, but I just have, it's been so hard. David Rockefeller was a grandson of John Rockefeller, who was the first billionaire, or was the richest man on earth at one point, from an oil magnate in the United States, and is one of the families who have really forged their way into public influence, especially in the United States, but really worldwide. This American billionaire, through extraordinary circumstances that really are beyond me, have nothing to do with me really, then took an interest in me. And that then landed me in what I call the global network, which was what the Belgians were very hard trying to get connected to these people, to do business with them and everything. And then the children, of course, the gift of these 2 children was, in that system, really the secret currency. Rockefeller was definitely a Satanist. I can't say it in any other way. That was a belief system that was adhered to by a lot of people there. I met a lot of celebrities. As I said, Pierre Trudeau was there during a week that was to celebrate a satanic holiday, which was on April 30th or May 1st, I'm not sure, but it was going towards that date. There were a lot of festivities. There were horrific things that were happening. But that's the week in which I had my performance. That's the week in which, things were happening there that were satanic in nature, as well as the original, the original ritual that was staged by the Belgians who didn't believe this, but who wanted to do that to do business with these people. I know that it wasn't Rockefeller who was in charge, and then I know that I met somebody else who clearly had more power than him, but I don't know who ultimately was in charge. But it is a system. I don't think it really works in and of itself, because if everything is based on blackmails, then they're not real friendships, obviously, because I was supposed to ultimately be this elite sex slave to be sold amongst them and to spy amongst them. So it's not like anybody has real friendships there. Nobody's capable of having a real friendship. So the values are completely deranged and screwed up. And I feel that because of their resources and ability to control, we're getting a lot of brainwashing to try to emulate those values. I think it's old, and I think the experiments from the Nazi camps were continued. In fact, at 9 years old, I was taken to a mind control facility, actually a nice villa in Heidelberg, but mostly the basement of that villa. And so what I received there, that mind control training, was extremely precise and effective. And so there was a plan. So based on my innate ability and based on my bloodline, which I wasn't aware of myself, I was, they created a persona that I was going to become for them as, an elite sex slave. And to be an elite sex slave, I needed a platform myself. And so I was going to be, made famous in France. And so that training was so specific and so precise, and it was done by a man who was a Nazi and who was used, I think, by this family as, for their special project. I don't know exactly, but it was extremely professionally done. Like, I was impressed.
Wow. To
see myself change. And what changed there that was so significant is from 6 to 9, I knew they were wrong. When I was 9 years old and I went through a year really of intense training, and meanwhile I was gone from home the whole summer of 1972. I spent the first month, July, in the United States, and the second month in that training in Germany, in that mind control training. And that whole year I was taken, and then I went back to school, but I was taken out a lot, and I was taken on weekends, I was taken either more training, or I was taken to be deployed like with a man, with a politician or something. So I was used already, and I was also kept trained to become that persona, which was going to be, a known actress singer in France. And then that was used, really, that platform was really only to serve to attract a certain type of men that I was then going to be, involved with. And then I could just also bring in information and report back to who was then my owner. So it was a star training, to be used, so that I would be used to an entourage also, and I would be used to the comfort. And I was also promised a lot of comfort and a lot of physical rewards. My choreography for the lyrics was to sexualize every line and to give the double sexual meaning for every line, and then bring that into the performance. And so that was very well liked. What I see is the persona that I was supposed to become. I see adult celebrities that definitely seem to have been programmed